Hello, my name is Brenden Klebe. I am the Pierce County Extension Agent in Rugby, North Dakota. My background is crop and weed science, where I got a crop and weed science degree at NDSU, and I also grew up on a farm just west of Willow City where we grow wheat, soybeans, and canola. But today I'm going to talk about the numbers game with estimating yield in wheat, corn, and soybeans. Alright, so first off, before we really get into the calculations, I want to talk about the importance of yield calculations, really the why we should do it. And so the first one that comes into play most of the time is estimation of income per acre, knowing what our return is going to be on this crop. You know, this is the big part of it, the big part of the numbers game, knowing what we're going to get per acre before we can even get it through the combine. You know, give us a general idea of what we're looking into. And doing that, we can also go to our second point here, which is last input decisions to make, like a crop burn down. You know, sometimes the crop might not be worth it to burn down, and you can just let her go and let the frost or let natural conditions let it go, and maybe not spend any more on that crop this year. And other times, sometimes we work with other companies or work with researchers that maybe we have variety and input trials that we can go out there and get a general idea before the combine goes through of what we have out there. You know, be prepared for the numbers that are going to be showing up on the yield monitor or showing up on the weigh wagon, and really get a good idea of what's going on out there, or maybe why it's going on out there. And it gets a whole lot easier when you know with the yield calculations, which is the most important part at the end. And lastly, the part that's not near as fun is sometimes, well, weather gets to do the harvesting for us. The great white combine comes through, and well, you're probably making a call to crop insurance instead. Well, if you're out there before this happens, at least you can have a general idea of what you had before the hailstorm came through or any other weather event, maybe shattered it out. So just being prepared of what you had out there makes that conversation with crop insurance a whole lot easier when they're going out and also making calculations, and you can have your numbers maybe that you had as well. And so just knowing what you have out there, I think, is really important when it comes down to it. We can start with wheat. This is really the easiest one in my opinion to go through. It's based on 7-inch row spacing. So first you're going to take your kernels per spike, or your head, how many kernels you have in the head at the time, times by the number of heads per 3 feet of row. So you're going to count out 3 feet, how many heads there, and then you times it by the multiplier of 0.0319, and that's going to give you your yield. So there are times when maybe we don't have 7-inch row spacing, so we have to make adjustments. So instead, the yield multiplier would be 1.17 for 6-inch, 0.93 for 7.5 inch, 0.7 for 10 inch, and 0.58 for 12-inch spacing. Now we can get to an example. So say you have 32 kernels per spike, and then you count it out per 3 feet a row, and you come up with 42 heads. That's counting your tillers, counting your main heads, and then you have your multiplier that we gotta remember of 0.0319. And so then we take those, we take the 32 times by 42 times by our multiplier, and that'll give us our answer. So I'll give you a little bit of time just to do that, and our answer you should come up with, which I've checked twice, is 42.87 bushels per acre. So that should be a really good tool for estimation of the wheat bushels. There's really nothing too complicated on that. And so now the next one we're going to move into is corn yield. So next one is we count the number of harvestable years in a row of 1/1000th of an acre. So there's a few tables that if you have different row spacing, we can figure that out as well. But just based on 30-inch row, it'd be 17 feet and 5 inches that you'd want to count the number of ears in. After you get those ears, you're going to count the number of kernel rows per ear on every 5th ear in that row that you did. And then the next one that you do is count the number of kernels in that row. But do not take the small kernels at the ends or the weird large ones at the other end of it either. We want to have the good full-size kernels that are going to give us the most uniform yield. So with that, our formulation for that is the number of ears that you counted on the first step times by the number of rows per ear of corn And then the last step is the kernels per row. So you're going to take the number of rows on there, which should always be an even number. Keep that in mind as well. If you get an odd number, you might want to recount. So you take the number of ears times by the number of rows, and then the kernels per row. And then you take that with your divider of 90. And that should get your yield. So now we can go to our example. Say we got 20 ears in 17 feet and 5 inches. This is based on 30-inch spacing. And then we have 18 rows around. Remember, even number. And then on the next step, we're going to have 32 kernels per row. So this is just an example, but we don't want those small, measly little ones at maybe towards that taper off, towards one end, and the very large ones at the butt of the ear either. And then we got to remember our divider should always be 90. So we take our 20 ears times by our 18 rows times by our 32 kernels, and we divide that by 90. And I'll give you a little bit of time, put that in calculator, do what you want to do there. And our answer should be, which double checked, 128 bushels per acre. If you're getting something else, let me know after the presentation, after watching this, and we can walk through it. You know, contact me at the extension office and we'll go from there. So lastly, this one's a little bit more to it. It's going to take a little bit more time on it. We're going to talk about soybean yield calculations. So we're going to count the number of plants in row equal that 1/1000th of an acre again. And ideally, and I would recommend this with the corn as well, even though I know it's pretty tough walking through some cornfields and whatnot. Soybeans might be a little easier. I would really like to have 10 locations. You get a whole lot better idea of what you're working with, especially out in a quarter. And soybeans, there can be a lot of variation. Maybe the corn, maybe not quite so much, but you know, 10 locations, you're going to have a really good idea of what you're going to be looking at. You can take your bad areas and your good areas and get a really good average. So with the feet again, the 7-inch spacing, you want to walk 74 feet and 8 inches. For the 15-inch spacing, you'd walk 34 feet and 10 inches, and 30-inch spacing, 17 feet and 5 inches. And there are tables online that give you a whole lot more options for your spacing as well. So if these don't work for you, I understand. I just picked a few of them that, you know, at least you have a general idea of where we're coming from. And so after you count the number of plants, then you want to get to count the number of pods per plant. So that's going to give you the average of all of them, and that's where that one comes in through. The formulation I found online, they put it per letter. So your pods per plant would be A, you know, your plants per acre would be B. That can make it a lot easier as well. So, but from right now we're just doing pods per plant, and then our multiply plant population by the average pods per plant. So that equals our pods per acre. And then after this, we multiply our pods per acre by 2.3. So that's going to give us our seeds per acre. So that 2.3 is our general calculation of seeds per pod. So some pods you're going to have 4, some pods you'd have 2, some pods 1, sometimes 3. You know, so we got a general average of 2.3 is going to get you in the ballpark. If you want to get a better average, you can count them all if you want all the seeds, but you know, it's at least this will give you your seeds per acre. And then the next part is to divide the seeds per acre by 3,000. So this is a general middle of the road seeds per pound estimate. You know, when you start at the beginning of the year, when you're going out and seeding, you know, you can see seeds per pound ranging from 2,000 to 4,000, and then anywhere in between two. So this is just a general divider of 3,000, middle of the road. So this is going to give you pounds per acre. And then after that, you divide the pounds per acre by 60, and that will give you your yield. The 60 is the general test weight of soybeans. I know sometimes we get lighter yield and lighter pound soybeans and whatnot too, but this is going to give you your best yield estimation. So now let's get to the example side of things. So we have 7-inch rows, and so we had to do 74 feet and 8 inches. So we had 145 plants. And so I tried to make this as realistic as possible, so bear with me. And so then we got 24 pods per plant. So, you know, I figured about 3 pods per node, and I got about 8 nodes. So we got 24 pods per plant. And so, first off, since it's those plants in that 74 feet 8 inches, we're 1,000th of an acre. We take that times by 1,000 to get our plants per acre. So we have 145,000 plants per acre. So now we take those 145,000 plants, we take that times by the 24 pods that we counted, and we got 3,480,000 pods per acre. Whew, tongue twister. And then you take that number that you just got there times by our 2.3 seeds per pod. And if you want to go with more, you can, but generally this is going to give you a good idea. So we get 8,004,000 seeds per acre. So now we have the amount of seeds that we have out there per acre. So now we take that 8 million and divide by the 3,000. That is our general middle of the road seeds per pound estimate. If you want to do more, you can do more. If you want to do less, you can do less. But it should give you 2,668 pounds per acre. And so we're really getting down there now. We're almost at the finish line. We take that 2,668 pounds that we have per acre, divide by the 60 pounds per bushel, and that's going to give us our bushel per acre. So we started off with our plants, and then we got to our pods, and then we got to our seeds, increasing more and more, and then we finally can narrow it down. We divide by our seeds per pound, and then by our pounds per bushel. And so with that, make sure that you guys got a little bit of time to go through the calculator with this. So let's see if we're all on the same page here. You should get about 44.5 bushels per acre. Give or take a little bit of rounding here and there, but that is what you should get. So NDSU has these available online. With a little Google search, I was able to find all the NDSU articles on this, and so this is straight from their publication. So if you need those tables that we have online of the different planter depths or even air seeder widths, I encourage you guys to look those up. I know that this isn't going to work for everybody. So if you have any questions, I work in Rugby at the Pierce County Courthouse there. Feel free to give me a call or an email. I'd be happy to go through this a little bit more with you. And if you have any other crops that you're trying to get a good yield estimation for, I can try to help you through those as well. My email and phone number are there below. Give me a phone or email, and I'd be happy to help you. So if you have any questions, reach out. Thank you, and have a great day.